The views, opinions, and ideas expressed in this video are not an endorsement for Sonoran Desert Institute. Especially with my opinions, they should be taken lightly with a grain of salt and a shot of your choice.
Hey everybody, another gun how-to on a Keltec PF9 hammer block and hammer block spring. A little bit of a tricky part. It's actually really easy to do. It looks a lot more intimidating than it really is, but I just wanted to do a quick how-to on how to get these back together. That way everybody always has a future reference. Alright, so this is definitely going to be different. I had the phone sitting on the table. I don't seem to have my tripod. What I like to do first is at least get the pins set right here and get the hammer block in. And if you could see the way it's sitting, we want to have it facing like that. And then simply with a pair of pliers, I like to grab this part, hammer block spring, and there's a little tiny hole right there. Slip that in the hole. Alright. This is kind of the trick. So you got to make sure that this spring is not caught on anything. Okay? Because it likes to slide into that little channel right there. So make sure it's out of that. Then go ahead and compress the spring with your finger. A little easier said than done. At the same time, go ahead and push your pin through. Careful not to whisk the edge of the spring with the pin. I mean, you can push it in by hand. Then once you got it, get a little bit of a tap and get that pin in. So, there it is with the pin in. Now comes the tricky part. So you should be able to pull this thing forward and get definite noticeable spring pressure on it. Quite a bit actually. It's pretty heavy. Now we'll take our trigger pack and go ahead and start positioning this in. For any reference, if you do pull out this trigger spring, it comes out through the top, through this hole. All you got to do is just stick a small pin punch through that hole. This knocks out of the bottom. Well, when you go to put this back in, make sure that this spring is sitting this way. There's a little loop on the inside of there that this little pin sits in there. I'm going to give this one good little tap with my punch just to make sure it's fully seated. This is what the trigger pack will look like. We'll have to get our springs in and everything like that. We got everything back. This is the tricky part because everything always likes to fall out of this. So that's how that should sit. Alright, now this, you got to compress this spring when you're putting this bar for the hammer back in place. And you usually have to compress it around just like that. It sits in that little channel. The best thing I like to do is hold it just like this when I'm trying to get this back in, because getting this thing to seat can be somewhat of a challenge. So what I like to do first is come in this way and at least get one side pinned in first. And I'm going to try to, because I'm only working with one hand here, trying to do this. Do this. Okay, so now we got those pinned in. That's going to pretty much stay there. I like to keep my hand on that. So now we got to get this thing pushed into the proper position. So we got to get that pushed up so it sits and interacts with the hammer. So using a, I don't know if this punch is going to be small enough, but using a small punch, I like to come off the back of that and push that forward. Yeah, this gets tricky. And slowly get it to where it sets in there right. And it can be one hell of a demanding task. you'll do this a couple times. There we go. You can see it interacting with the hammer where it needs to be, and that's how we do it. So now from this point, all we would do is give it a little test to make sure. There we go. That's what we want to see there. You know, that's working. Everything's looking good. Trigger bar's doing its job. So now we'll go ahead and just knock these pins in and get this thing back together. Okay, so now all the pins are back in. I know it kind of looks the same, but yeah, they're back in. And now we got to get this piece down here, the hammer spring, we got to get it back into its set retainer. And it also helps to have the hammer forward, because it does give you that little bit of extra length you need. I just like to come underneath it with a pair of pliers. There you go. And once you get it right there, you can just kind of turn it till it sets in its proper position. There we go. And that's now in place. That's what we want to see. So from here, we'll just go ahead and put the slide back on. And the slide's pretty easy. Just take this, give it a push, slide release spring will actually click into that, and there you go. I like to work it back and forth till it functions smoothly, because the Cerakote just takes a second to break it all in. But that's the PF9 assembly. On how-tos and everything, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel, The Gun Psychiatrist on YouTube, The Gun Psychiatrist on Facebook, Gun Psychiatrist on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks for watching.